Welcome back to another tutorial with me, Mandy Rosen, and this is one of my favorite pictures I've ever created. This is the before and after. So you can see she's sitting on the stool to levitate, and she's holding a candle which we cloned several times so it looks like she's levitating over several candles. The first step is to go to Image, Canvas Size, and we're going to make the width of the picture larger to create a square, which we're going to fill up. And then I'm going to use a spot healing brush tool to get rid of some of the elements in the background like the light switch and the paintings and the pictures on the wall. In this case, I will go back and forth from using the clone tool and the spot healing brush tool to clean up the white wall. But both of these tools are similar, they work differently. The clone stamp paints a complete copy of whatever you select. However, the spot healing brush tool seamlessly blends pixels together on its own to erase certain elements from a photo. So with the spot healing brush tool, I'll end up with like these messy smudged edges, and that's where I'll go in with the clone tool and just smooth everything over. And right now I'm just painting within a defined selection, so nothing can be painted outside of that selection, and I'm just doing that so it's a lot easier to paint away where the wall meets her head and her hair. And I'm just clicking that layer on and off that background copy layer so you can see the difference. Then I'm going to duplicate another background copy layer, and I'm going to use the clone tool again because I use the clone tool for everything, just to create extra space on the left and right side of the picture and fill in those white gaps. And it may seem like a bit of a tedious process to do, but it probably takes 10 to 15 minutes just to fill in the floor and the white wall, and once you add in the textures it looks a lot more natural. And then the next step is to use a spot healing brush tool yet again to erase away the stool. And I'm just painting over the stool with a kind of a smallish brush, a very soft brush, so it blends better. And it kind of looks a little smudgy as I mentioned before with the spot healing brush tool. So I'm going to go in with the clone tool after using the spot tool, and I'll just clone away at the wall and just perfect all the smudges that were created from the spot healing brush tool. And you can see that here that now I just switched to the clone tool and the wall's already looking a lot better. Now I'm back at the spot healing brush tool, just erasing away at the stool that appeared underneath her dress. And now I'm bringing on different pictures of the candles. So we only had one candle that we used, but no problem. We can just clone that several times with several pictures. And I'm transforming the layer by hitting Command T on my Mac keyboard, which allows me to stretch the candle, make it larger, and rotate it so it fits in with the wall. Now I'm using curves to brighten up the selection so it blends in even better. Now I just created my layer mask, and I'm using the brush tool to paint away at the edges of the layer of the selection so that it totally blends in. I don't want to paint away too much because I want to keep that glow of the candle against the wall. Since I don't want to Photoshop away the glow of the candle, I'm going to make a much smaller paintbrush and just erase away at the bottom of the wall so it blends in even better. Then I'm going to duplicate that layer, and I'm going to transform it, flip it horizontally, and move it to the other side of the picture. Then I'm just going to do the same process basically over and over with other pictures that I took of the candle on the floor. Just copy and paste it using the lasso selection tool to create that circle around the candle. Then hitting Control Copy, then going to the main image, hitting Control Paste, then creating the layer mask using curves, so on and so on. And I'm just going to copy and paste the same candle basically over and over. And that actually works. It doesn't even look like it's the same candle really, but it would look the same even if I photographed 10 different candles the same. So I just use the same one. And I'm just clicking that layer on and off of all the candles. Now I'm using the dodge tool, which just brightens up certain areas of a picture, and I'm just using the dodge tool to brighten up her face a little bit to bring out the shadows. Then I'm bringing the image into VSCO, where I'm applying a shadow underneath her so the photo looks more realistic. Yet when you're doing levitations, you really have to pay attention to little details like the shadows to make the photo look a lot more believable, you know. So I inverted my selection, and I'm going to darken that selection so there's a shadow. And now I'm applying different presets and doing the color toning in VSCO. I always do color toning in VSCO first. Then bring the image into Photoshop where I apply curves and selective color adjustment layers. Now I'm bringing the image into Photoshop where I'm on the yellow colors of the selective color adjustment layers. Now the whites, the neutrals, the blacks, and I'm just going to adjust each color individually. And that's a before and after of the selective color adjustment layer that I just applied. I like it so much I'm going to duplicate that layer. And then the next step is to color in all the candles a little bit more red by using a selective color adjustment layer, going to the red colors, reducing the cyans, and that's a before and after of that cyan reduction. And I'm going to also paint, obviously, the candle that she's holding in her hand just to give it a little bit more pop. And then I'm going to apply a little bit of a curves layer just to add a little bit more of an artistic, moody feel to the picture, more blue tones and green highlights to the photo. The last step is to apply several textures to the photo, and I always have like black and white textures unless there's a Brooke Shaden texture I really like that's a colored one that I use sometimes. I use different blending modes for textures. For this blending mode, I use screen, and then I darken the texture because it with the screen mode it makes it super bright, and then I might adjust the colors of the texture. So this is the texture I was talking about that has color. It has a blue color. This is a Brooke Shaden texture. So I apply that texture, and then I change the blending mode to soft light, which is the blending mode I mostly use for textures, and then I reduce the opacity and the fill of the texture so it's not super dominant on the picture. This is a different Brooke Shaden black and white texture I'm using. I believe it's from her Textures of India packet that you can download for free from her website. I'm using soft light also for this blending mode, and then I'm going to create a layer mask on the texture and just erase away at her skin and the dress and her body just in general, just so that the texture doesn't appear on her skin because that's not the look I'm going for. The texture looks amazing as you can see in the close-up. This is the before and after of the texture I just applied. And then I'm going to use the burn tool as the last step just to add in a little bit more of a realistic shadow. And I'm using a background copy layer just in case I make a mistake. I can create a layer mask. I'm also using a 46% exposure for the burn tool. Real quick, here are some of the other pictures we took, and it was actually really hard narrowing down which pose to go with because the creative model, Sarah Kasuf, super talented, just so many different poses and expressions, just a lot of variety. If you like this video, I would love to know your feedback, so please leave a comment in the comment section below and I'll respond to your comment as soon as I can. This is just a little close-up detail I'm showing you. Please don't forget also to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss future videos. It truly would help me out so much and I just really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to follow Sarah, the talented model, on Instagram, Pray to Bay, which I will also post in the description below. Thank you so much for your continued support and love, and I'll see you guys for the next video.